The first opinion is that boy groups doing dark and noise music and y'all hate on them for it, saying they do one type of sound, or they do dark and noise music, or they're boring because of the dark and noise music. But like as I said in the previous video, them doing dark and noise music isn't that bad, and dark and noise music is a type of sound too, and it can be good. But the thing I wanna talk about is how y'all say they're boring, probably because y'all think they do dark and noise music only. But the thing is, them doing dark and noise music isn't the only thing that would make them boring, and them doing something else other than dark and noise music wouldn't make them less boring and more interesting, because other types of sounds they do or doing other genres would make them boring as well. It's not only the dark and noise music that would make them boring, as y'all say. Dark and noise music isn't the only bad sound or whatever negative things y'all associate them with, because if they did something else they would still be boring if the song is mid. A boy group being interesting and less boring doesn't depend on them doing something other than dark and noise music, but rather it depends on how well they can lift a song up and give it flavor so that it's enjoyable, or if they fit the genre or sound. A boy group can become boring with another sound other than dark and noise music, like retro or EDM or Latin or any genre or sound, but they can also be interesting with doing dark and noise music. Y'all need to stop associating boy groups with dark and noise music negatively as if it's a bad thing when it's not. The next opinion is that, on the topic of boy groups, when I heard TWS's Double Take because of their performance video recently released, I got scared because it sounded like the type of boy group music that K-pop stans hate 4th-gen boy groups for. The one type of sound kinda baddie in a way music, edgier is the word, but I hate it. It sounds more fitting for NCT. I don't want TWS to start releasing music like this, because TWS have this sort of cute and youthful vibe to their songs, from the ones that I've seen like Plot Twist or If I'm S Can You Be My N for example, and if they end up switching to this generic boy group sound you see often, I'll cry for real, because there are boy groups like Unite who did the same thing. They debuted with something like One of Nine, which is fun, upbeat and bright, but then after that they released music like Bad Cupid and Aviator, which fall into the generic you see often sound that people don't like, and then they released Love It and Waterfall, which came back to a more upbeat sound, and then now they have Geekin, which probably would go in the same category as Bad Cupid and Aviator, IDK. I'm not trying to say these types of sounds are bad, because they can be good when done right, but like it's getting kinda overdone and annoying, and is the main reason K-pop stans are saying girl groups are better, because of them seeing more bigger budgeted boy groups doing this generic sound scene a lot. I'm starting to hate it as well, especially when a bright sound group goes a more dark and noise route or makes edgier music, and it's not only because I prefer brighter sounding music, but because of the fact that we're getting too much of the generic scene. It a lot sounds that boy groups are hated for, and it's getting annoying for me. Groups like Unite and TWS should be doing more upbeat and bright music because it works more for them than songs like Bad Cupid, Aviator, Geekin, which is by Unite, and Double Take, which is by TWS, etc. The next opinion is that, still on the topic of boy groups, K-pop stans hating on boy groups saying they release dark and noise music or one type of sound, it made me just realized something. It made me realize that why are companies so obsessed with the dark and noise music that they've made their boy groups release these types of music enough to the point that K-tubers started to hate on them because of it. What makes dark and noise music so good for companies that they prefer it over other sounds? Surely, there must be a reason, because I've never really seen K-pop stans K-tubers hate on boy groups this much, so much so, that I kept and still keep defending them in my opinions videos, in comments of videos of people hating on them, and also releasing a whole debunking video showing the diversity and amazingness of 4th generation boy group music, and that they're not only one type of sound dark and noise releasers. I don't really know what the companies like so much in dark and noise music that is generic seen before music. That they wanna give their groups this type of song every time, and would make their boy groups switch to this sound in particular rather than sticking to the sound they were prior. Unite is the example again, and Apex, who were previously Like a Movie, where Like a Movie didn't really release the sound that K-pop stans hate boy groups for, but now their first song as Apex is in the sound that K-pop stans hate boy groups for. Boy groups switching to this sound or companies debuting boy groups with this type of sound as their main focus, again isn't a bad thing, but I said in the previous opinion that it's getting overused, and I think companies should take a break from this sound, because it's starting to get really annoying and it might just become the most hated sound by K-pop stans, including me, because if K-pop stans hated on boy groups once for the dark and noise music, they can definitely do it again. The next opinion is that people who add XG to their K-pop playlist videos but then add a note at the bottom of their song playing that reads, "They're not K-pop, but I wanted to include them." If you know they're not K-pop, then why add them to your K-pop videos when you clearly state in the notes that they're not K-pop? If you know they're not K-pop but still add them to your K-pop videos, aren't you trying to make them K-pop by adding them to your K-pop videos? They shouldn't be added to K-pop videos unless they debut in the K-pop industry. For me, them doing live shows in Korea and promoting in Korea doesn't make them K-pop. They have to debut in K-pop to be considered K-pop. K-tubers doing this annoys me so much, just like K-tubers adding Japanese or any other language songs by K-pop artists to K-pop videos because the artist originally is K-pop and they don't seem to care. It's just a personal ick, because y'all say they're not K-pop, but still add them to the videos, which means y'all actually do consider them K-pop when you know they're not K-pop at all. The next opinion is that, IDK if I'm made this opinion on fandoms before. I've made it for companies, but people need to stop saying, X fandom is the most toxic fandom in K-pop. If they do say it, because they don't exist, because every toxic fandom has done toxic things which made K-pop stans call them toxic and refer to them as that, which means that every toxic fandom is toxic and no one fandom takes the #1 spot for being the most toxic because every fandom does toxic things, maybe some more than others, and there's no competition of who's the most toxic since each toxic fandom is toxic, end of story. Plus, a fandom being considered the most toxic of them all could change with another fandom doing something more toxic and taking the spot for the most toxic, and to add to that, every K-pop stan has different opinions on who the most toxic fandom really is. Just look at the different K-tubers where one says ARMYs are more toxic than Blinks, and the other says Blinks are more toxic than ARMYs. I don't really think K-pop stans have a set belief on who the most toxic really is, and everyone has different thoughts on who it might be, because of people thinking differently about it. So yeah, every toxic fandom is toxic, and nobody is the #1 most toxic out there. The last opinion is that, music doesn't always have to be masterpieces, and can just be released because they're catchy, and that's okay too. If you look at a song Queen Card by G-Idol, or Zoom by Jessie, or Rockstar by Lisa, these songs are not the best songs in the world. They're not masterpieces, but they're extremely catchy whether you like the songs or not, and they get stuck in your head. Me as a music listener who likes to listen to any type of genre of music, and I'm open to checking out anything musically as long as it slaps. I love listening to music that's lyrically good, or instrumentally experimental, or vocally amazing and or angelic, or just overall a music masterpiece that lots of people agree is an objectively good song, but also I like listening to music that is extremely catchy, be it good or bad, that are just there for the catchiness of it and nothing else. Music doesn't always have to be amazing, outstanding and super wow factor like, and sometimes they just exist to get stuck in your head. There are songs just existing because they're fun and not there because they're trying to be the best of the best so people can analyze the song and go in depth into the masterpiece that it is, because not every song needs one and they just exist because they're catchy and fun and don't have some deep meaning in them but are just made to get you singing it 24/7 till you get annoyed and want to stop singing it.
Baby, listen. You forgot